Police on Merseyside, searching for missing 2-year-old James Bulger, have discovered a child's body.
In February 1993, Britain was shocked by the abduction and murder of a Liverpool toddler, James Bulger.
Poor James only went missing from his mother for a matter of seconds, and he'd gone.
The shock turned to disbelief when it had emerged that James had been brutally murdered by two 10-year-old boys, Robert Thompson and Jon Venables. There were angry scenes at their trial. They were eventually found guilty and ordered to be detained in custody.
I do remember the judge at the time saying it was such an evil act that they carried out, and they're going to go down for a very, very long time.
But 17 years later, the case was suddenly back in the headlines.
That Jon Venables is back in prison tonight after breaching the terms of his release.
Today we can report that aged 27, he's been charged with possessing indecent images of children.
Albert Kirby was the detective who helped catch James Bulger's killers. Since Jon Venables' arrest, he's felt compelled to find out what went wrong. Did the system that was meant to rehabilitate him fail? And how should we deal with young children who commit very serious crimes?
If we believe that adults can be rehabilitated, surely we have to believe it for children.
I remember early on that Friday being told a little boy had gone missing in the shopping precinct in Bootle. I was then head of the Serious Crime Squad in Liverpool. We all thought, first of all, he was a little boy who'd just wandered off and got lost.
But within hours, the police discovered CCTV pictures of two boys with James. They later identified them as Jon Venables and Robert Thompson and plotted every inch of the route they took with James.
They brought James out of that entrance there. They then went down the slipway and actually onto the canal. The CCTV cameras on that building with the black shutters, they were the cameras that actually caught them walking up here. And they were seen taking all this route. If they hadn't have wanted to hurt James when they came out of the passageway here, all they had to do was to cross over the road and walk that short distance to the police station entrance, and even if they just abandoned him there.
Instead, the boys took James off the road and through an alleyway.
And they took him up along the wall, up onto the railway line, and then once they were up there, they were out of the sight of anybody, and they weren't going to be disturbed.
2 days later, a child's body was found by 4 boys playing close to the railway line.
When I was told that a body had been found, we all appreciated who it was going to be. I've seen many murders, I've dealt with many murders, but I've never ever seen the extent of the injuries that were inflicted on someone who was basically totally incapable because of his age in actually defending him. And I suppose you could say it was a degree of humiliation which is outside the realms of anyone's imagination. But I think we were all numbed, to be quite honest, by actually what we'd seen. You couldn't really think in your own mind, when you saw what had happened at the actual scene of the murder, that the person who was responsible for that was a child. But that picture was building up, and we thought, we have now got to prepare ourselves that actually those 2 young boys that took James were responsible for causing his death.
4 days later, a tip-off led them to arrest Venables and Thompson. They were both just 10 years old. The boys were taken to separate police stations where they gave a total of 20 interviews over 3 days.
You're under caution and you do not have to say anything unless you wish to do so, but anything you say may be given in evidence. Now you understand that, don't you, John?
Yeah.
All right. I have a photograph here which is a video camera photograph.
That's me. That's me. That's right.
So the boy holding James's hand is you.
Yeah.
And the boy ahead of you in the dark jacket and trousers, Robert Thompson. And what was it you told us?
That I killed James.
Right. Now, I know that took a lot of doing.
I can't tell you anything else.
Why?
That's the worst bit.
Why? Okay, right. I know that's the worst bit, but you know what you did. Why? Think about it. Why? And just tell us what happened.
He took me in the railway shop and started throwing bricks at him. And then
Who did?
Robbie.
Why did he throw bricks at him?
No.
Where did the stones and the bar hit him?
In the head.
Was he bleeding?
Or either.
Where was he bleeding from?
Face. Then it was Robert's idea to kill him.
Okay.
Is it finished now because I can't speak anymore?
You have to look upon both boys quite separately. In Venables' case, in the interview, he was quite emotional. He was subject to breaking down. His activities in the interview room were quite bizarre, in so much he'd get up, he'd walk round, and he'd throw himself at one of the detectives for comfort and support. In Thompson's case, he was completely different. He was streetwise well above the age of 10.
In his interview, Thompson blamed Jon Venables for the killing.
He hits him where exactly?
In the face.
In the
I
face.
think he hit him in the eyes.
And he hits him in the eyes. Right.
Now, was James making any noises
He
then?
was knocked out.
He was knocked out. Was he moving at all?
The trial sparked a huge public outcry, with many branding the boys as evil. The judge took the unusual step of allowing them to be identified, so the whole country soon knew their names and faces. After a trial lasting 17 days, the jury found them guilty of murder.
They knew full well that what they were doing was not only wrong, it was seriously wrong. And it wasn't as if it was a childish prank that had gone wrong. The intention was to cause death, to commit murders.
The criminal justice system had dealt with James Bulger's killers. The public could only hope such a barbaric crime would never be repeated. But on Saturday, April the 4th, 2009, a 9-year-old boy was found wandering and covered in blood on a street in Edlington, near Doncaster. He and another young boy had been the victims of a furious assault carried out by 2 children. Despite his injuries, he managed to